Hello, welcome. So today, I'd like to go over the topic a little bit more detail about claiming to know God only brings death and destruction. So that may seem like an alarmist claim or clickbait. I don't think it is. The primary example I'm going to be going over is Dome of the Rock. So this is a supposedly different religious groups claim this land is holy for different reasons, and people are also warring in that region. Like, region's always in a state of conflict. And so you have these groups, and they're claiming that this rock is, I think where like the sacrifice of Cain and Abel took place, or Muhammad ascended, or and then Jesus did something there as well. I forget which. The details are not important. I'm not even going to bother to look up the details. The details as to why the site is holy, completely irrelevant. It's not important at all. What is important, we can see that these three groups all claim this area is important for different reasons. Now, is it a live and let live? Like, hey, this is, my group sees it as this way, and that's what works for us. And and then this other group comes along and like, well, we see it holy for this other reason, and they both, because they're followers of God and God is so great that they, understand their differences and come together and still love each other. No, that's not what happens. It is what happens sometimes. Certainly not all the times. So I'm going to be speaking in generalities here. Why is this region in a state of war? But these two groups are continuously seeing this region. They're claiming, well, I know God. I know, God is, this region is holy for this reason, period. So as soon as you do that, you're saying, I know God, and this is, let me describe God. Well, unfortunately, you or I or anyone else doesn't know God. Now I go into a lot of detail in another video, God is unknowable, but I will gloss over the details here, and if that interests you, then certainly go watch the other video. You have to really look at the number of dimensions in the universe. So we know there are at least four, right? So we exist in space-time, 4 dimensions. Now, if you're a non-secular and you believe in life after death, there must be a 5th dimension, because after you die, time no longer affects you. Well, how would time not affect you? Because you're sitting above time. You're, now have become a 5th dimensional being. You no longer are, confined by, space or time, and, you live out, supposedly live for all eternity in God's house. Now, there must be at least a 6th dimension, because God is higher than all and created all the lower dimensions. So God at least must be a 6th dimensional being. So what's a 6th dimensional being? I don't know. I can't really begin to fathom. But if we look, we ask the question, well, what's a 2-dimensional being? Well, that would be, your shadow. So if you're a 4th dimensional being and you reduce yourself by 2 dimensions to go and, preach among, these shadow beings, and then they're going to claim, well, I know you. Well, no, you've seen a limited representation of me that describes so little that no, you don't know anything about me. And certainly if we went down 2 dimensions, it would be either your shadow and an instant in time, because time's a dimension, or if we wanted to think of use time, then going down 2 dimensions, you'd be a line, and that line would change over time. So however you want to think about that. So if you want to say just you want to reduce yourself to 3 dimensions, even going down 3 dimensions, you could be a shadow that changes over time, just reducing by 1 dimension. And these dimensions, as they increase, are going to get infinitely, exponentially greater as each. So if a 5th dimensional being is exponentially greater than a 4th dimensional being, and a 6th dimensional being is exponentially greater than a 4th dimensional being. Again, I go into all the details in the other video. If you're interested in seeing those types of details, certainly go watch that. That's how I'm going to claim God is unknowable. And then there are certainly theories that state that there's, could be 10, 11, or 12 dimensions in the universe. So again, God is clearly unknowable at dimension 6, much less 10th, 11, or 12, which if you believe in, say, angels and demons, would these be, of course, fifth dimensional beings? Would, like, angels be sixth dimensional beings? And then God would have to, of course, be a seventh dimensional being. So yeah, we're claiming that, I know that God walked the earth. No. Look, if God walked the earth, I'm not even going to claim that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe God walked the earth 0 times, one time, or, thousands of times. I'm not really sure, but if God does walk the earth as a physical form, rest assured that form of God has gone through several, layers of dimensionality reduction. So again, saying that I know God, well, you know God's shadow. So I don't think, if you just saw my shadow and you started saying, I know how, what you look like, well, no, you don't. No, you don't. And so that's the point. And what's interesting is how much, people hate one another for claiming to know God. So you have the Crusades, one group of people claim to know God in one way, and if you don't claim to know God in one way, then you're evil. And what's interesting is and then we have the example of Nazi Germany, and I don't know if this was a coincidence that the Germans were Christ-centric community, not to bash any people that follow Christianity. I think it's a fine religion, but did that kind of influence them? Well, they're not following the one true religion anyway, which is what some sects of Christians believe, or some, not just Christians, of Islam or Jews or all sorts of people believe theirs is the one true religion. And then you look at how they treat other groups. So you can say, well, mine's the one true religion, and then then how do you treat other groups? And it looks to be poorly. Best case scenario is you look down on them. You just kind of look at them with disdain and disgust, and or you just say, well, I'm better than them. They're going to go rot in hell. That's one of the better case scenarios. You only condemn millions or billions of people to hell because they're not following your religion. I claim this right now. There is not a single religion on earth in history, present, or the future which knows God. That is true. That is God's word. This is logically deducible. And if you believe yours is a one true religion, I'm sorry, you have been duped. And I'm sorry to say that. I'm sure you're not ready to hear this. We're watching the world just crumble before our eyes, get worse and worse. There's no sign that it's going to get any better, anytime soon. I grew up in the 80s and 90s as a child. The macro trend since then is things getting worse and worse. We're in a perpetual state of war. The middle class, of what wealth the middle class have is just being eroded. And so on and so forth. So even this newest thing of COVID, and people are like, oh, we just want to get back to how it was before COVID. We were already on the downward slope before COVID. So the best case scenario is we get back on our downward slope, like now we're just going down the slope faster. Oh, well, let's get back to this downward slope, that's less fast. Oh, that's the best case scenario that we're hoping for. And my whole point in this is, the world is crumbling, and what are people doing about it? Well, blaming one another. Again, so what's wrong with the world? Well, people aren't following the right religion. If they all follow this one, we'd be fine. Okay, so here's my question to you, for you to answer, and I doubt, you're able to answer this. If yours is a one true religion, and your goal is to convert people to your religion, then I would have to conclude that your end game is to establish a one world religion. That's what you're trying to do. You don't even see it because you're not following the pattern. So if I know my enemy's goal is to establish one world religion, then I would assume that my goal is to say, oh, Well, if my enemy is trying to establish a one world religion, then I should be happy. There are multiple religions, and for this purpose, to say that for example, there are different sects of Christianity or Islam or Judaism, to split hairs and say those are fundamentally different religions. They are not in any way, shape, or form. So you're Christ-centric, Judaism, more the Torah-centric, and then Islam, you're more Muhammad-centric, or you're Hindu, which is really that's saying that, well, God walks the earth in many forms. Has God walked the earth in many forms? I don't know. Maybe. Do I say how God can walk or not walk? Hell, if I created the universe, for example, in the world, would I want to walk with my creation? I would think that I would. Would I always pick the same form? I don't think so. That would be boring. If I'm God, I'm not bound by any form, because that would be putting limitations on God. You say God is all powerful, but then you say God is one form. Well, is God all powerful, or is God one form? You start to see, all these problems that are created by, not thinking logically and rationally about, God and your relationship with God. So that's it. So, I'm going to leave you with considering, do you want to get to the end of your life and just say, well, I didn't think for myself. I had this religious text, and I just did what it told me to do. I had a religious instructor, like a priest or, whatever. I just did what they told me to do. Well, do you have any thoughts of your own on the matter? Say what you will about me. You may not agree with me. You may even hate me. That's fine. At least I think for myself about this stuff. So you can't deny that. And all I'm encouraging, I'm not saying follow me. I'm saying, please, think for yourself on this stuff. And certainly, what you do, open your eyes to your religions, comparative religions, just ethics in general, looking at just how can we make the world a better place, because some people's answer is, do nothing. God's going to go ahead and make the world a better place. Right? Let's just sit around and wait for the second coming, or the first coming. And that is, even if that's true, that's terrible. So let's say that's true. Let's just live in a world where that is true. But I really want to sit around and do nothing. Just live out my life, and just get to the end of it, or just blindly give money to a church and then say that's you doing something. No, you're just blindly giving money to another organization, and what they do with that, you have no control over. For you to do something to make the world a better place, it involves real action, not just having others act on your behalf. Okay. So if you're going to get to start explaining your situation in life, in the afterlife, and it's a no. What did you physically do? And that's what did you physically do? And thinking that you could somehow, well, I gave money, so what, you're trying to buy your way into heaven? Is that it? Again, that's not it. You're not going to buy your way in. It's not about money. If you want to give a church that you belong to that is doing good, and you want to help them, that's fine. It has nothing to do with being a member of God's house, or helping to realize God's objective of making this world better. So and you really can do that right now by just demonstrating a little bit of empathy, a shred of empathy. What if you were born in China or India or something? You're like a Buddhist or Tibetan monk, just because your parents were, and that makes you a bad person? I guarantee you, if you're following the Four Noble Truths, if you're actually following those, you're a good person. Guaranteed, if you're following them. And that's what you're going to do, is go around and condemn people to hell. So my wife, for example, she's from Mexico City, and she's a Christian in Mexico City, and it's Catholic-centric in that area. And she was actually discriminated against because, she believed in a minority sect of Christianity. That's how crazy stupid this has all gotten. that, oh, no, 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 even if you believe in the same general religion, if you don't believe the more specific religious sect, then you're wrong. So again, it never ends. You're on a slippery slope to just try to claim to know God more and more and more, and you're just bringing about more judgment onto the world and hatred and things like that. Wow. Yeah, just stop judging others for being, actually, if somebody says a different religion, listen to them, learn about it, and expand your horizons. Go out and do your own independent self study on other religions. Try to understand why on earth would anyone follow a different religion. But again, these religions have gotten so out of control that they're going to say, if you don't follow this certain religion, or more specifically this religious sect, we're going to condemn you to an eternity of hell. That's it. If that's true, then you don't have to worry, because there's no God. Literally, at that point, God is like not. How can you be so petty of a being? So you create the entire universe, you create life and complex life, and all this beauty and everything, and then just say, if you don't worship me in just a certain way, I'm going to condemn you to eternal damnation. Think about that. Think about that. Wow. So there you go. No, I don't believe getting down on my hands and knees and praying to a prophet, a certain prophet, is the path to salvation. That's subjugation. Okay? Unbelievable. You're waiting for this person who will walk on water before you'll believe in God. It's likely we're going into the end time now. It looks like it. I'm not following the end time. I mean, we're not supposed to. I'm fine with not doing that. But it seems like just more and more markers just keep on being thrown in my face that I can't. I mean, I already don't watch the news. I'd have to also turn off social media completely, and then maybe I wouldn't see so many of the markers. But if I'm on any platform where you get any news, I mean, these markers are just getting abundantly clear about the end time. God's word is here. It's always been here. Basically, we've always been in end time. There's no other time than end time. That's the only time there is. And God's word has always been here, but you don't want to hear it. You think God's word exists only in a book. Well, I think God is greater than that which can be written in a book. You think God can only exist as bipedal white male or bipedal Middle Eastern male. Well, I think God is so great that no form can describe God. So you think very little of God, and that's my problem. And of course, you're going to come at me and use the devil's play and say that I've been judging you this whole time. And that's a classic devil's play, is to do wrong and then have somebody call you out on it and then blame them for judging you. And so I'm at a catch-22 here. Do I let you continue to do the wrong thing, or do I call you out? And I mean, I'm sorry. That's just where we're at. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you just stop claiming to know God, and that's it. And then go follow whatever religion makes sense to you, or worship God in a way that personally makes sense to you. Your path to God is individual covenant between you and God. How many paths to God are there then? Infinite then, because it's between you and God, and you get to work on your personal relationship with God. But no, you don't say that. You say there's one path to God, and we're all following this path. If you don't follow this path, help you. All these people are going and being led in droves, down the path to hell and damnation, behind, people claiming to be religious, spiritual leaders. Stop that. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. I'm introverted by nature. I'd much rather, be playing video games or something like that, other than doing this and making these videos. But again, you can't say the word wasn't out there, and the word doesn't just come from me. It's all over. You certainly can open your eyes and see it, if your eyes are open. But if you're in the framework of saying that God only exists in a certain book, or God only exists in a certain religion, then you're lost. I can't do anything for you. I mean, you're lost down this path, and you're saying no. I just go down this one path. I'm sorry. You have the free will, and if you want to go down that path, that's on you, and I can't stop you. Because you've been given the gift of free will. So you're given the gift of free will, and then you don't want to listen and just go your own way, and then you wind up damning yourself, and then you want to be mad at everyone. You blame everyone but yourself for your problems. Well, you know what? That's what it is. If you're reality is not a padded room. You can hurt yourself, and I don't know why that is. I mean, I'm just a regular person myself. I fucking didn't create the universe or anything like that. So I'm going through just the same thing everybody else is. With I don't remember anything before being born. I certainly don't know what happens after death. You're not going to get your the point of this is your salvation is never going to come from another individual. It's going to come from within you, and that's it. Period. It comes from you, and it's between you and God. And when you start saying, well, God is a book, or God is a person, well, then that's where you start to say, well, I know God, and then you're immediately going down the wrong path. So and I'm certainly not attacking any religious texts. Certainly I read religious texts all the time. So I learn things every time I read them. But I still, in the back of my mind, understand that God is so much greater than all the greatness and all the religious texts put together. And that's my point. So don't go around saying, oh, mine is the one true religious text, and that's it. This is God. You're lost at that point. You're completely lost. So if you want to get unlost, you think for yourself.